Hi, and welcome to this video on Introduction to Cloud Computing using Microsoft Azure. You can see it as a first video on cloud computing, and if you don't have any knowledge about it, it's fine. It's just an introduction to get an intuition of what it is, and then later on in more videos, we'll go in more into details on how to work with Azure. So let's move on to the slides to get some intuition. So here we have an introduction to cloud computing and Microsoft Azure. So a developer creates a web app and earns money. That is quite fun. So we have a developer here. She has an idea. She will create a super awesome web app. And this super awesome web app will generate a lot of money. So a lot of users will use this super awesome web app. And then money comes back to the developer. As simple as that, right? Or let's see a little bit more details. What could happen? So the app is becoming more popular and generates more traffic. What will happen then? We get a lot of users, and then the developer asks, "I am rich yet?" Oh, a lot of money. We'll see. No, not really. Why not? The server overload. It's becoming slow. There's a lot of downtime, which makes a lot of frustrations. There are security risks. Oh, what to do now? There's problems with scalability. It worked well with users, but now we have several 100,000 users. That is quite hard. So it wasn't as simple as we thought. I'm not rich yet. So we need infrastructure. So we need this infrastructure as a bare minimum in order to manage this scale. So we need networking, of course. We need security. We need storage. We need servers. And we need load balancers. We don't need to know all the details about this, but these things and a few other things needed in order to have a more scalable system. And this requires a high upfront cost. And what does that mean? It means that you need to buy all those stuffs, right? Servers are basically computers, but if we're thinking about serving a lot of users, then we might need to have very expensive computers, right? And whenever it goes down and we have fewer people, then we already have put in all money in this data center. And also there's a lot of know-how that requires in order to set up all this. And this is called capital expenditure. So you spend one time mostly, and then afterwards you don't have much costs if these things work as expected. Until you start to scale up more. Scaling down is quite hard. Scaling up, then you need to buy more infrastructure. You need to buy more servers, more computers, and also set it up. And then you need to do more investment. And this requires a lot of expertise for the setup and for the maintenance. So it's not very simple. So there is scalability issues with these because, for example, you need to plan ahead how much load do you expect to have in your systems. And then you need to buy these servers. And I need to put in a lot of money on this service. Okay, so this is basically if you want to set everything up yourself, or you and your company, and having it in on-premise, it's called. So these are physical hardware in your facilities. However, these services and many more are delivered by cloud computing. Okay, so what is the cloud? Is it something up there? Let's see, here, now I can point. Or is it something else? Basically, cloud is just servers and all the infrastructure you saw before and much more. However, those are not owned by you. They are owned by other companies, such as, I will mention three of the largest ones. We have AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and Microsoft Azure. So cloud computing we have a lot of developers. They can work towards the cloud, and networking is inside of the cloud. Security is inside of the cloud. It's built in, and also you can choose a lot of security things. And then there are servers here that can scale up and down, in and out. And what am I saying? I'll explain about scalability later on. And there's storage and much more. Let me show you here. So these are just a few services that are delivered by the cloud. So what is cloud computing? It is basically you deliver IT services online. That is it. And then the physical servers are in data centers. And it's on-demand access to computing resource. So when you need to have some compute, you can just choose to have it. And when you don't need it, there's possibility to auto-scale so that you don't need as much, so you pay less. You pay for what you need, what you use, basically. So benefits are, it's quite scalable. So if you have a lot of traffic, you just get more virtual machines, for example. If you have less traffic, you can have fewer virtual machines. And one example could be like, you may have a spike one time per year. For example, Black Friday, there's a high spike in the demand. And they expect your web page to work. And if it doesn't work at that time because you can't scale up or you can't scale out, then you will lose a lot of money because the customers will go to your competitors. So it's cost efficient with cloud. However, this is quite dangerous to say because it could be very cost inefficient as well if you use it in a way that is not very wise. So it's a two-edged sword here. It could be very cost efficient, but it could also be very costly. So when you develop something, you need more compute, or you just add it. You click on adding in more compute, and that's it. And if you think, okay, we're in on-premise everything, we need more compute, we need to scale up. Oh, then you need to go to the IT, you need to plan, you need to go to management to check for budget, etc. And you need to plan, how much do we need? And this could take a few months to get it up and running. You need to install it, set up maintenance, etc. While here, when you need more compute or more resources, you just click that you want it. However, it costs for usage. There's something called global availability. This is really unique using cloud in contrast to on-premise. For example, if you use on-premise in your own facilities, what happens when your facility burns? There's a fire. Do you lose all your data? Do you lose you cannot go into your web app? So these things, if you want to set up a lot of availability and redundancies and reliability and all those super fancy terms for basically guaranteeing that your web app is working, it requires a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge and a lot of money. However, in cloud computing, they have a lot of data centers in a lot of regions in the world, a lot of zones. And for example, one data center burns down, and then your app could still work because it could be mirrored towards another zone that is far away. They have independent networking, they have independent power, they have independent cooling, so they can guarantee a certain amount of uptime. For example, I think Azure 99.99%, if you choose a certain setting, then you could get 99.999% of SLA, service level agreement. This means that just a few minutes or a few seconds per year that your app is down. This is really hard to achieve by yourself or your own company if you aren't super large and super skillful. As I said, disaster recovery. So for example, one center down and you still get your data from somewhere else. The major providers, as I said, we have Google Cloud Platform, GCP, we have Amazon Web Service, AWS, and we have Microsoft Azure. And for this course, I will choose Microsoft Azure. This is what the focus will be. So this course covers Microsoft Azure, but know that when you know about one cloud, It's easy to move on to another cloud if you need. The concepts are similar, but they have different resources, different things to work with. However, most of the ideas are similar, the major ideas. So we will go into something called a shared responsibility model that Azure works with. And what that means is that there's a responsibility of the users or the customers, and there's some responsibilities of the cloud vendors of Microsoft, for example. And to show this, I will give you an example first of something else that's like laundry clothes, like an intuitive example. So we have different things here. We have on-premise, we have IaaS, we have PaaS and SaaS. So these are different terms. So on-premise we've talked about. So this is like you own your facilities, right? And IaaS is infrastructure as a service, and then PaaS is platform as a service, and SaaS is software as a service. Okay, so you haven't heard about these terms. You don't know what that means yet. So let's go into an intuitive example. So you buy a laundry machine at home. You put it at home. So you own your laundry machine. You own your home. So this is on-premise, right? So you can think of it as in Azure, for example, or in your own company. You buy a service and put it into your facilities. And this is on-premise. And then let's move on. So this is capital investment. So you have something called CapEx. So you put in money, right? And then for IaaS, infrastructure as a service, you lease a laundry machine at home. So it's still in your facilities. However, you lease a laundry machine. So then, because the laundry machine is the infrastructure, basically, that you lease. And here you choose a model. You maintain a machine and then you pay when you use. So this is infrastructure as service. And then for PaaS, you rent a laundry machine at a store. So at the store, you rent the laundry machine. So what is special with this? You choose a model and you pay when used. So note that infrastructure as service, then your responsibility is to maintain the machine. And you choose the model and you pay when used. And when in PaaS, then you see that you just choose the model and you pay when used. The maintenance of the machine is the laundry service, right? The laundry, the one that has created the laundry machine, because you rent it, right? And you rent it at the store. So you go into a store and you pick a machine and then you use it. And then for SaaS is a washing service. For example, I will give my clothes to you and I don't care which machine you choose. I cannot tell you which machine to choose. You just clean my clothes and I get it back. So you pay when used. So this, you can see that the responsibility of the customers when you go up here in this triangle, it's getting less and less. So on-premise, we have full responsibility. And then IaaS, we have a little bit less responsibility. And then PaaS, we even have less. And then SaaS, we don't even know what type of machines they use. We just buy this service and we get back our clothes cleaned. That is it. So how about in Azure, shared responsibility model? You have physical data center, you have physical network, you have physical server, you have OS, operating system, you have network control, apps, identity and directory infrastructure, accounts and identity, devices, and data. So these are different things that we have. So here you could pause the video and think which types are managed by you and which type are managed by Azure. So we have here cloud responsible, And these depends on the type of service that we choose. And here is customer responsible. So basically, you're responsible for your data, your devices, and accounts and identity. And here we have Legend, Customer Manage, Azure Manage, and Shared Responsibility. For IaaS, you can see that Azure manages only these three. So physical server, physical network, and physical data center. The rest is the customer that manages. So infrastructure as a service, so you choose the infrastructure you want. Those are provided by Azure. And the rest you manage. That's it, infrastructure as a service. And then you have PaaS. And here you can see more things that Azure manages. Some things are shared, depending on which services you choose. And for software as a service, you can see that Azure takes care of most of the things. And a few things that the SaaS, that the customer is responsible. So customer is always responsible for their own data, devices, accounts, and identity. Yes, and with this video, I hope that you have gotten some intuition about cloud computing and about cloud computing in Azure. And this is just an introduction. You can move on to learn more. And later on, we'll go into how to set up the account in Azure and how to go into the portal and work with some simple resources. And also, we will have more intuition and theory sessions as well. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye.